Hello and welcome to this first episode in a new series of podcasts from Yggdrasil entitled What's Up Yggdrasil? My name's Stuart Darkin, I'm the Director of New Media at Square in the Air, and I'm joined today by Fredrik Elmquist, who is the CEO and founder of Yggdrasil. Hi Fred, how are you doing?
Hi Stuart, nice to see you in a while here actually. Nice to see you, man.
I think it would be helpful if you could just do a short introduction, maybe 30 seconds or a minute or so for people who don't know who you are and what you do.
So, hi, I am Fredrik. People call me Fred, and you know that Stuart after all these years. I'm the founder and the CEO of Yggdrasil. I've been doing this I've been in the industry since 2006. Started in sports betting and then was dragged into casino from some people at NetEnt back in the days, and yes, been running with Yggdrasil here for some time, and it's been an excellent, it's a fun journey.
So, Fred, you and I first met back in 2013 at ICE, and it was the first ICE that was at Excel, and we met on the boulevard, the bit down the middle, where all those tables and chairs were at that time. And at that time, Yggdrasil was just you and an iPad. And I know there's other things going on in the background, of course, but in terms of your presence at ICE, it was just Fred and some games on the iPad. I remember you had Jokerizer on an iPad.
Absolutely.
And you had a glint in your eye, and you had this company name that no one knew how to say. I'd appreciate if you could just take us back to that moment, really, the 2012, 2013, the stepping off point for Yggdrasil, what was happening at that time?
I remember 2013 ICE there. It was a lot of fun being on your own, running around in the hallways of ICE with a laptop and trying to grab people and tell them that you had something really good going. And I think that what we have done, if I used to go back 9 months previously, the whole idea behind Yggdrasil, the company no one could pronounce, which was excellent, but at least it stood out a bit from everyone else. It was micro, tech, net, whatever, crypto, whatever they were using at the time. So we kind of stood out from that. But we also wanted to do, I was actually, since leaving NetEnt, I had an idea that we could do something different, innovative, but from the baseline and upwards, from the baseline and up. Because at the time there was microgaming, Playtech, NetEnt, there was a bit of Chartwell and crypto as well. But those were the absolutely leading companies of the providers. And everyone who wanted to do something was trying to mimic the guys on NetEnt. NetEnt were the innovators at the time. Sorry, Playtech and Market Gaming, but they still, used to work there, and I still think that they were the innovators of the time. And everyone, who wanted to do something mobile was mimicking, something that NetEnt was doing. No one was really trying to innovate anything from the beginning, because everyone was of the opinion that NetEnt was by far the leading and the best company out there, and they were at the time. But when I departed from NetEnt, I had an idea that actually we could do things differently from the beginning, from the ground and up, innovating in technology, innovating in the user experience, innovating in the promo tools, and do all of that. And that was the get-go from Yggdrasil, which was, of course, was a tedious. It was a lot of efforts required to go from trying to build everything from the beginning instead of mimicking. But it also became the core essence of the company, and I think it also shaped that we had that ambition. It shaped the people that we got on board early days, because we told the vision and the ambition to the people that we wanted on board, and some of the people were discouraged by it, of course, because it just required a lot of work efforts, and some people really liked it. And then they got on board because of the challenge. So I think we got a lot of momentum early days just by being who we were and who we decided to be.
So during that time, how were you building interest? How were you pulling people in? How were you telling the story? Because your elevator pitch was not to imitate NetEnt, clearly. You said that again today. So how were you building momentum then? How were you selling Yggdrasil? I saw you at subsequent ICEs after that first one, and gradually, and we all saw it, the company built and built, and there was a time when you know, we're building the
Yeah.
tech. We don't want to do marketing yet. And it was slow and the stand got bigger. So how were you telling the story at that time?
Well, I think that the one of the key things was to first define where do I want to have my tech center. Where do I need them? Should it be in Sweden? Should it be in Malta? Should it be somewhere else? Because we had connection to Sweden, of course. We had the office was only existing in Malta from the beginning, and I decided together with the rest of the board to say we go to Poland. We set up in Poland, good math schools, good development schools. So I knew Poland's going to be an important hub for the company. We did a lot of investigations on where in Poland. We decided to go to Krakow because it has both the artistic elements of what we needed for the studio, and also we had the kind of a core development, call it Java skills and back-end development skills there, and it was a good hub, and it's also such a beautiful city, so it's kind of easy to relocate people from inside Poland to Krakow. So it was a good center hub there. And then if I knew that that's going to be my epicenter of my technology and my development, and also being a studio, I knew that I needed to find the right people that could be the center of gravity, that understood the mission and ambition, and that could accept the challenge. And I think I managed to do that. I managed to get some of these people on board early. One of the first people that came on board is actually the one who was the architect of Gati, which is something we're really, really enjoying at the moment. So, and also I would say from platform to IT to front-end engineering, these guys came on board, and from the get-go in Krakow, loved the challenge. They managed to relocate a lot of people from Germany, inside Poland, and so forth, and it became a great team. And I think what the Polish there at the time lacked was to be the center of gravity of a technical organization, because a lot of these, a lot of Polish entities was subsidiaries or third level outsourcing company who was following what an American company, and then had a Swiss level, and then down to the Polish level. They were more like a outsourced factory. And I was from the beginning very early by saying, guys, you are going to be the center of gravity in terms of development. I think it worked out really well, and I still got a lot of that team. The majority of that team is still there. So. Yeah, worked.
So it strikes me, Fred, as it did at the time, really, and again now, the Yggdrasil is a company that's playing the long game, or that played the long game during that really formative time, and that's a bit unusual because a lot of companies in this space are very impatient, very demanding. They want everything done immediately, yesterday.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're a patient person.
Both.
And
yes
if you're
and no.
not, then how did you play the long game in the way that you did?
Yeah.
I'm very interested to hear your take on that.
Yeah. I think you need to be able to think that you're running the 100 meters every day, but you still need to think about the marathon, if you understand. You need to have a sense of urgency, and you still need to apply a kind of a understanding of that certain thing takes time. Certain things is allowed to take time, and certain things need to mature over time, and can follow a more of a methodological kind of a process. And other things just needs to be addressed there and then. You can't wait. And I think you need to understand that as a manager, and from the board to the senior management team, what actually is something that we need to apply sense of urgency to, and what is the stuff that we can actually work slowly. And what I do like about the company, and what I still enjoy driving this, is that the company's evolved over the years, and it become a much more sustainable company, a much more diverse company now than it was before. It has a different momentum. It has a different trajectory, and I used to love that. I used to love to see that we can still evolve the company, and I think for the last couple of years, since Bridgepoint, the private equity company, that bought out Cherry from the stock market, us tagging along in that. I think they have brought a lot of that next phase that we're going through at the moment. And that's part of a new journey, which I really, really appreciate. Yeah.
So back then, when we met in 2013, that Premier League of companies that you just spoke about was very much intact. Now, 7 or 8 years on, that structure's been shattered for lots of reasons, consolidation among them, but also because of the rise of companies like Yggdrasil. Not just Yggdrasil, there are others that I won't name. Did you foresee that? Is this part of your ambition? Did you realistically think that you would be able to get to the top table, so to speak?
Yeah, it's very, very interesting question. And I think that what we did there and then, I mean, when I left NetEnt, I basically was thinking for a couple of days, and I was thinking, can I do this differently? And of course, I had that already make my assessments when I was working there, because you know what you could do different when you're working in a company. You're pushing to do things differently. Maybe you don't succeed due to legacy, whatever it might be. So it's quite refreshing to feel like I can actually do something differently there. And I'm not sure everyone knows this, but I think that 12 hours after I left NetEnt, it was communicated. I got approached by Cherry AB, which was the one I ventured into this with, and also Evolution. Evolution at the day was very keen on, then at the time was keen on also potentially developing a slot studio of themselves, which they didn't do, but they've done pretty well since then anyway. And they have acquired a couple of slot studios along the way. But I just felt there and then like, hey, you know what? Maybe there is something here. And well, I think what we did do for the industry, you can go back at the time. There were other studios out there, but they were doing peripheral products. There was Relax, there was even No Limit City, and so forth. They were doing peripheral products within this because they thought they could not really pick up the competition with the guys of Micro and NetEnt and Playtech. So they stood in their kind of area, and you had also these studios, that had started. They were doing development on iGaming and Playtech, the GTS and so forth, and we kind of said, you know what, let's find our own way here. Let's make our own platform. We have an idea about promotional tools that can go in game, in the game client, visible. We solve all these problems, and that could be our way to fame, basically, and way to success. And we did. And by doing that, by breaking down a couple of these things, showing innovation from ground up that did not come from some of the big guys, I think a lot of new entrepreneurs spotted what we were up to and said, hey, there's a chink in that armor. Let's get in. And I think there was blood in the waters, and shark came swimming from all directions, which kind of changed the pretty blue ocean, or maybe let's not call it red ocean, but a bit of purple ocean industry, where they have a few big providers that were kind of knew where they were going, until a complete fierce competitive situation to what it is today. And I think we were, this is just, someone can correct me if they think I'm wrong, but I still believe that we were out there in the foreground and kind of changing the rules, showing it was possible. And I think what you've seen there is just a bit of a revolution from a studio perspective. Now it's studios popping up left, right, center, using publishers like ourselves to get their content out. So I think this is the beginning. I think this will continue like that. But I think we kind of help breaking down that old former kind of rigid systems.
It's really interesting what you say there about the way Yggdrasil has grown and developed, and how it's not just become a trailblazer, but also almost created a new template for how to do things, an unintended consequence, if you like. I wonder if there's been any other unintended consequence, any other surprises about the journey and about the kind of company that Yggdrasil is today?
Well, let me say this: when you realize that things are moving and changing, when you realize that there's a lot of studios coming from everywhere, with a lot of creative people, because what we do know that you can scale a studio, you can scale production lines, you can scale on technology, but it's very hard to scale on the creative side of when it comes to making casino games. You need to understand the user experience from a player and a gambler. And then you realize that there's a lot of talented people out there. And that's when you realize that the model of the publisher or the enabler, as in the gold rush, I think I mentioned that analogy before, that's where you want to be. You want to be the ones who's enabling others to find their fortunes. And I think that's what we set up to do, saying this is changing, and either you're in the forefront of that change, or you're climbing on to a kind of a business plan that you're not even sure if it's going to last for the next 5 or 10 years. And I think that's what we've always done, is to be trying to create a sustainable business that is not just being optimized for the fourth quarter ahead, like the hockey stick in Q4, and then it's kind of your regression after. We always wanted to create a more and more sustainable business, diversified business. The company today is in the best sustainable and diversified position it's ever been. So I feel that as a strength to. I have a responsibility to my fellow shareholders, to my senior management team, to my employees, to keep on creating. People ask me, when do you want to exit? I'm not sure I want to exit. I just want to evolve. I feel that this is something we being an entrepreneur does not necessarily mean that you're there for making an exit and then go to Thailand or lie on a beach. I don't see that, and I get that question a lot actually. Why don't you just want to sell?
Talking about entrepreneurial spirit and entrepreneurs in general, a question that people often ask is, when someone's delivered a successful project, maybe sold their business, is, well, why do you carry on? Why do you still want to do the same thing? Why do you start over? And that's not really the point, because entrepreneurial spirit is something that's in the blood, it seems. You can't stop. You're the kind of person that builds a company like this. If we can rewind before 2012, before Yggdrasil, what was the teenage Fred like? Were you doing entrepreneurial things? Were you buying and selling? What were your plans? What was your life like then?
Well, you know what? I will give you one brief thing. I mean, I did do entrepreneurial stuff even as a very young person. In student, we used to manufacture, shirts and student stuff and sell to other students. So I used to do a lot of these things, drive these things. I come from we a generation of four generation of fishmongers, restaurants, and everything around seafood and so forth in Stockholm. So I think in my family, entrepreneurship has been kind of inherited, rolled over in generations. So I've seen that kind of entrepreneurship as not selling. It's fourth generation and still going. And now it's my cousins driving that. They're taking the helm of that kind of family business that's been doing successfully well over the years. And every generation come with something new that is revolutionizing it, actually contributing a lot to the next generation. And I like that part of entrepreneurship, that you are creating something new for your other fellow shareholders, for your it's more like a family business in a way, even if it's not I don't own 100% of the company, but we kind of feel like it's a family business. And who knows? It might be family business, But that's how I feel about the entrepreneurship from my family point of view. And going back to what I wanted to be, I had no idea. The only thing I knew was that I did not want to work in the restaurant business. I worked there a lot, and keep in mind I had to work, since they are, coming from that industry, family business. We worked 6 days per week. When everyone was going out, when I was going out on Friday night, I might as well go and sleep at the restaurant, because I know at 7 o'clock I need to be there. I need to clean things and prepare stuff. And it was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of good you got a lot of structure from that. You understand that you need to provide for the family, you need to support, you need to bring in a lot of time and a lot of energy, which was good for my upbringing, you know. But I also realized that working 6 days a week, which I now work 7 days a week, so I'm not sure if I made any good trade-offs. But I saw that it was taking a lot of time being in that family business. So I decided to kind of deviate from that path and go into, you know, sales, marketing, and product roles in large companies like Duracell and so forth. So I tended to go in a different path. But I always kept a passion for food, and I think maybe my passion for food grew even more because I was not working in it, if you understand. But I didn't know. I was more knowing I was going to be in some commercial roles, and then I started to see product was very, very interesting. When you could start defining things, and people build that, and it was like, my God, that was just groundbreaking for me. Not only just selling it, marketing it, also define things that people build that you then can sell and market. Then I just realized that, my God, I can spend how much time, you know, I can spend 24 hours a day just, you know, creating something and get it out there. And you know, in before joining in the iGaming / online gambling sector, I was in telco and e-commerce back in the 90s, and 90s running on to the beginning of 2000, you know, where the big boom and bust happened in e-commerce. It was then the fastest moving industry out there. But it was not as fast that I saw like gaming was. Because in gaming you could produce something digitally, deploy it the day after, and see the results the day after that. So I just realized here can my kind of a ADD or whatever compulsive disorder you have, you can have, there's no stopping. You know, there's no stopping in your creativity and your energy. You can spend a lot of time getting stuff out there, and you can monetize that and see it coming to fruition very, very shortly. So that was excellent for someone like me that is patience, but also extremely impatient.
It's really interesting to me that I asked you about entrepreneurialism and you answered talking about passion, and how passion is a different driver to entrepreneurial spirit, how passion can make something both a marathon and a sprint. You talked about food as one of your passions. I know you have a passion for language. I know you're always interested in how things are pronounced or how they sound in another language. What other passions do you have? What else drives you? What else occupies you away from work, maybe?
Well, I think I have my family. You know, I'm a bit of a family one as well. I have a daughter, and I got another baby coming here in June. And I since COVID, I just enjoy spending time with family and doing things. You know, in the weekends, going somewhere, seeing the kids grow up. It sounds like such a cliche, but absolutely isn't. It is amazing to see the developments, you know, week on week, when you're there, and how they pick up things, and just mind blowing how quickly they learn things and so forth. It's just amazing, and you know, saying that you interact with them and you see the feedback, and it's just amazing. So I would say that outside of my family, my work, my friends. And my cooking, there's no time for anything else. There's literally no time for anything else. But I think these are the core things for me. They are kind of, they're so related in a way, family, friends, and then the business side of everything, you know, where do you draw a line between a colleague you worked with for 10 years, how, you know, when does he become a colleague and a friend and so forth. So, and from, you know, the social perspective, you know, going for dinners, inviting friends, inviting colleagues for dinners and so forth. I mean, it's just, for me, it's just part of my universe, how to say.
If you hadn't taken those early sales jobs that you spoke about, and if you hadn't fallen into iGaming, as so many seem to do, what would you have done? What else would you have done?
I have no idea. I have no idea. I would have been attracted to the fastest moving industry in that sense, where my at the time energy and creativity and focus could get, you know, a good be in a good ground, so to say. And I think I would have found that. Well, now it happened to be gaming or iGaming or iGambling, online gambling, whatever you want to call it, or it might have been something else. But I'm drawn to that kind of environment, and the whole global part of it is just amazing. You know, it's so easy to you know, when you're building a global network, you have friends and colleagues and all that in Asia, in LATAM, in US, North America, and that's just, you know, of course, rest of Europe. And I like that kind of a global feeling to the industry. So whatever it would be something fast moving with something global, something digital. So that's that, I'm sure.
So with reference to that energy and the passion that we talked about earlier, and the ambition that is evident from the Yggdrasil story, bringing us right up to 2021, all of that's in place. You've arrived at a destination. You have all these things that you've planned and built. What happens next? Where does Yggdrasil go in the next 5 years?
Well, I think what we're doing now is that we add a layer. You know, I need to bring in the guys from Bridgepoint again, which I have tremendous help for, let's say support and direction from, in taking a company from where we were in terms of sustainability and the diversification, or let's, you know, take corporate governance and bring that at a level that we are now seeing the company taking that step forward, and that is very interesting to be at the center of, because that we did not necessarily do that before. And outside of that kind of a corporate governance trajectory of the company, we also see we used to be a pretty fragmented, several studios here and there, to now core in Poland, platform, studio development, focusing on that, our own roadmap, and also becoming a publisher where we apply franchise models. We enable studios to develop things on our platform. We license our mechanical frameworks. Well, I know we're going to talk about later with some other of our team members, and it's just another trajectory. No, it's just another development of the company, which is again creating a more sustainable and diversified business, which, you know, it's going to be a good harbor for the shareholders, for the senior management team to evolve as senior managers, and for you know, the key people to also find new challenges in our environment. And I think that's what I want to create, and I want to keep on creating.
Well, that's a whole different kind of challenge. Being the guy at ICE that we spoke about that just has an iPad and some games, that startup mentality, that need to disrupt and be ambitious and be patient, all the things we spoke about, and show passion. That's one thing. But to be the CEO of a company that employs hundreds of people, that is mature, that has a mission statement, that has visions and values, that's a completely different kind of challenge. And I wonder how that journey, how that transition has been for you.
Yeah. I think it's been challenging. I think what you're having your kind of like a manic humbleness phases as well, because as you hit certain notes and they get tremendously successful, and then something happened that gives you a bit of a dent in your strategy, you have to be strong enough and smart enough. Of course, you're never smart as you see the management team as a CEO. So you have to be smart enough to really understand, hey, we did something wrong there. We didn't read this correctly. Can we rework this in a bit? Can we reshape our strategy? What do we do now to take us to the next level? And I think as long as you feel that you have the energy and that you feel like you have the motivation to keep on doing that, to take you through the next challenges, and you feel that you have your senior management team and, of course, the rest of the owners supporting you, I think that then you just keep on going. But if you don't have that, there's of course you shouldn't be doing that. That's for sure. Because it is a challenge, and there's no easy way. Of course, everyone who's been a CEO knows that the buck stops with you. The owners and the board are coming after you. The senior management and everyone, they need an answer and so forth. So it's not the easiest position, to be the CEO. That's for sure. So you need to feel that you want to lead. If you don't want to lead, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, because at the start it was selling, and now it's leading.
Yeah. And it's evolving. You need to evolve with the role, with the company, and you have a buy-in yourself because you're a major shareholder. And I've seen entrepreneurs that maybe stay on too long in their organization.
But that's that passion, right? That's what they created, and that's what you created with others. And it must be quite hard to switch to a different mode.
I actually see it as a natural progression. I mean, what we do we always analyze, we always assess, we always strategize, and we execute. And I always say, the day I can't make an assessment or analyze and reading what's happening, and if I don't have a good plan or a good strategy for how to take the company from there to there, if I can't convince the other shareholders and the board that this is the business plan, well, then they don't have any confidence in me running the company. But since they do, and since we have the trajectory that we have, it's just keep on rocking. So I see it as a natural evolution. It's a natural progression through these phases. It's basically, I've been doing the same thing. It's just that everything around is changing. It sounds weird, but yeah.
As you say then, in terms of the profile of the company and the way that it's changed, that leads us very neatly into the present and to these podcasts. Why are you doing them? Why is Yggdrasil chosen at this time to tell its stories in this way and to reach out in this way?
Well, I think we kind of miss the events, right? We kind of missing all the people. We can contact them, talk to them on the phone and so forth, but also bringing them together. I think I have one of my most interesting discussions is during ICE or some of the other events, when you're taking some of the very talented people from the industry that might not necessarily be working together, and you throw them in the same room, preferably you serve a glass of wine, and you see what happens and what always interesting discussions going to come out of it. And we said, you know what, since we're not obviously going to have these things for a while, we cracked this idea 6 months ago, and we were, of course, not the only company who want to do that, but it was driven from us saying, why don't we put all these people that we collaborate with, and we talk about what we do and how we do it and what we can do wrong. So it's a kind of an honest and transparent way of also getting feedback on how things work. So we don't want to make it like a promotional movie. It's going to be more like honest discussions around collaboration. So this is what I hope to expect to get and see from the coming sessions, where I have team members from my senior management team, from experts in the company, and talking to other people, moderated by yourself, knowing what you're talking about here. So I'm going to be very, very keen on seeing how we portray ourselves and what we say in these discussions. I think it's going to be a lot of fun.
So what's your audience for this? Who are you hoping to reach?
Well, you know what? Probably some relatives going to watch. Fred, you look fat.
Oh.
No, but I actually think that it might be, if some partners want to pick up what's happening, I think it's a really good thing. I'm not expecting this to take down the internet, but I'm expecting having nice, honest conversations here together with partners, and who knows going to pick it up,
And what do you think people will learn about Yggdrasil? What do you hope they'll learn?
I think they're going to learn a bit more about the company, and hopefully they're going to learn a bit at the amazing people that we have working here. And I also think that they're going to learn about the transition that we're going through from being a studio to being also the publisher. So as a part of the publishing business, of course, we have the studio, and our own roadmap is a very key part. But also the evolution around publishing, which we started to talk about ICE, 1.5 years ago. Let's say, February 2020. But since then, a lot of people are sitting at home, and it's we really make sure that message comes out, and then it's up for the industry to to decide how they want to collaborate with us. But it's a truly collaborative model, and I think it's going to have more touch points with organizations in the industry as we continue on this journey.
So as we sign off, I wonder if you could just take a minute or two to share some thoughts with people, really. People know you, they know of you, but we don't always get to hear from you directly that often. So maybe as we close this initial podcast, if you could just give people a bit of that Fred optimism and energy that they know and love, and talk about where we are now, the year that iGaming's had, the year that casinos had, and leave us with something positive.
I think we have been incredibly fortunate during this pandemic situation. I think we have been incredibly fortunate. We should be very, very happy about being in this industry. We've had, we can work remotely. I think the entire industry has shown to be very resilient to that.
Agreed.
I think we have managed to keep most people sane, even though there's been a lot of stress. I think with the transition, I think as a company, you shouldn't force people back, but you need to be able to, if some people need to come back and need a social context, you need to find ways of that. You need to support your team members with the right tools and equipment they have. In the beginning, it was fun to see when someone was sitting in their kids' bedroom and so forth. But at some point it gets stressful also for the family and the people. So I think we need to be wary and mindful about the people who's sitting, our team members who are sitting working remotely at home. And I think we need, as managers, we need to be extra mindful that we really catch, see if someone is not falling, someone maybe not handle this remote situation well, and we need to be mindful of that. Stress level is one thing. Zoom conferences, that constant contact and so forth. So I think we're fortunate in the industry, but let's keep an eye on the team members, so we get through all of these things in a very good way.
Yggdrasil seems to be in good health, looking to a strong 2021 and beyond, I imagine.
Yeah, we've never been in a stronger position. We never had as much cash we have now, and we have healthy growth, healthy profit margin, healthy cash flow, healthy team members, good discussion between the owners. We got a plan. We're hammering on the plan. We're working on the new strategy sessions for the spring board meeting coming up. In the spring board comes up, setting the strategy foundations for the next. So we're working the great methodology here, and it's just rolling it out, keeping it real.
Thanks so much, Fred. Thanks. It's been great talking to you. Thanks for your time. Thanks for making time. I know we'll be speaking again many times over this series of podcasts. I look forward to that. But until then, thanks so much. Have a great day.
Oh, thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you very much. Ciao, man. Ciao, ciao.